Joining me now is Andre Perry, a fellow at the Metropolitan Policy Institute at the Brookings Institution. He's also the author of Know Your Price, Valuing Black Lives and Property in America's Black Cities. The book there on display over your shoulder, I see that. Thank you for that. And Andre, this is broadly being painted as a response to the killing of George Floyd, but there really is so much more here.
Oh, absolutely. We tend to compartmentalize policy into discrete buckets. So we'll say criminal justice, housing, education, for instance. But in reality, these issues are inextricably linked. And so it's not surprising to learn that black people are pulled over more than 2.5 times or stopped more than 2.5 times more than their white counterparts. It's also not surprising to learn that black households earn less than half of what white households earn. And we shouldn't be surprised that only 46% of black people own homes in Minneapolis compared to 79% for white people. And when black people do own a home, the value of those homes are at least $33,000 lower, the equivalent home. And so this is a much broader problem that cuts across policing, education, housing, economic issues, that if we were truly, if the police are yes, protecting and serving, but it's clear that they're only protecting and serving those who benefit from unjust policies.
This is, you argue, effectively systemic racism. Donald Trump, the president, has been accused of stoking racial tensions. We heard his national security advisor saying earlier, there is no systemic racism in the U.S.
I would just say, look at the data, that there's this long-standing white supremacist narrative that the conditions of black cities and neighborhoods are a direct result of the individual behaviors in them. And that's what people lean on. They say, well, black folks need to do this, black folk need to do that. I generally say that there's nothing wrong with black people that ending racism can't solve. That if we address the structural problem that leads to devaluation in property, in education, and in other areas, then we can see people progress. But folks don't have to do anything racist per se, because the racism is baked into policy. And that's why a lot of whites will say, we're not doing anything wrong. I didn't own any slaves. I didn't do anything illegal. But you didn't have to, because the policies are privilege whiteness. And that's what we're seeing all across the numbers. The numbers are stark. The number of people who are pulled over, the people who are arrested, you know, it's almost as if white people don't use drugs or they don't commit crimes, and we know that's not the case. And so we have to address structural inequality if we're going to deal with this issue.
Andre, Joe Biden is running to replace Donald Trump as president. He served as vice president to America's first black president. These issues that you're mentioning existed, obviously, under Obama as well. Is Biden, who claims to have African-American support, widespread support, is he missing an opportunity here to lead even without an office?
Yeah, I mean, just being proximate to the first black president doesn't necessarily mean you'll be good for black America. And it was clear that in 2016, then Hillary Clinton took essentially took for granted black voters. There was a lot of platitudes, a lot of paper policies that were not vetted, that were not really tested, and so folks didn't come out to vote, and Trump was elected. Biden needs to use his plan that he drafted. It's called Lift Every Voice, Plan for Black America, and he needs to have that vetted. He needs to have those policies concretized. We need to see evidence that he wants to take down the structures that cause inequality and put new ones up that promote prosperity fairly.
All right, Andre Perry from the Brookings Institution, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.